Hi guys, Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to be doing a handover video on this Burstner Ixeo. So it's a 2016 and we're based on the Fiat Ducato chassis. So don't worry about the mess it's in, it's just not been cleaned properly just yet. But I'll start under the bonnet, I'll then work my way all the way around the outside and then I'll show you inside the van after that. So under the bonnet, over on the left hand side, we've got the majority of your sort of fluids and things like that. So over here on the left, we've got your washer fluid in the blue top reservoir there. Power steering fluid just here, engine coolant and brake fluid. Your engine oil gets topped up through this cap just here, and your engine oil dipstick is the red topped one just here at the front. You've got 691 is the paint colour, the sort of blue cab paint colour. If you ever need any touch-up paints for the blue on the cab there, it's Fiat 691 for the paint colour. We've then got the chassis plate over here. Now you have actually got another chassis plate somewhere around the vehicle, which shows you that it's been uprated or downplated, sorry, to 3.5 tons. So you can drive this on any car licence. So it was rated at 3,650 and it has been downplated to 3.5 tons so that anyone can drive it. So the air filter sits inside this box just down here. And if you needed to jump start the vehicle at any point, you have got a positive terminal just down here, which is this little prong of metal here under the cover, and a negative terminal just up here at the top, which is your sort of 2 jump starting points. So if you ever needed to jump start the vehicle in the future, positive down there, negative there. And by the way, the reason that they do that is because the engine battery sits under the floor in the cab, just in front of the passenger seat. So if you were in a bit of a dire need of jump starting the vehicle very quickly, it's nice and easy to get to those two there. Inside the passenger door, we've got your bonnet release handle just inside there, and your power supply unit sits under the passenger seat here. This is an EBL unit, Electro Block is what that stands for. Typical for Burstner to use those, and in fact they're actually still using them today. They've been using them forever basically. So inside this little flap is your diesel filling point, so you will need your ignition key in order to open that up properly, but that is where you would fill up your diesel. So on the near side of the van, we've got not a huge amount to show you, but I will carry on and show you through these lockers. So this is a particularly important locker. So you can see here we've got the actual freshwater tank. So to fill the fresh tank up, we've got a filling point at the top just there. You can also undo this cap just here in order to actually get inside the tank. Okay, so it's an absolutely massive tank, by the way. It's 120 litres. Well, actually it's 140 litres, sorry. So I'll turn that up a little bit. So you can see here, we have got 120 litres and then 20 litres here. So we've got a drain off point at the top. So when I twist this open, you see the water starts to come out from underneath. I've just tightened that back up again. But that is how you would drain out the fresh water. That's how you'd fill up the fresh water. Next to that, we've got your electric hookup point. So I've got the hookup plugged in at the moment, as you can see, and they do give you this nice little cutout in the locker here so that you can still completely close the locker even with the hookup plugged in. We've also got this little black handle here, which if we have a little look underneath, slots onto here and actually acts as basically like a valve for opening up the waste tank. So if you wanted to drain the wastewater out from this point just here, twist this around and it will drain out the wastewater. Okay, so that's your wastewater drain out point. The last thing in the locker here are these 2 little drain off points themselves. So towards the back, the little yellow one is basically like a manual pipe drain. So if you wanted to winterize the vehicle, you would lift that upright and all of the water from inside the pipes would drain out onto the floor. And then the blue one just here, or the black with the blue knobs on it, is your boiler drain. So if you wanted to drain out the water from the boiler, all you have to do is twist the little valve at the top so that it's facing towards us rather than facing front to back. And then any water that was inside the boiler will then start draining out onto the ground. It's also an automatic drain off valve, so it will drain out automatically when it gets down to about 3 or 4 degrees. And so when you come to refilling the boiler again after winter, you need to then put it back to the position where it is now and then try to fill the water back up, which I'll show you how to do when we get inside. This is your boiler vent, so if you have got the boiler lit up, you should feel warm air coming out through the bottom of it. And that's about it really for that locker. So the next locker we get to is the toilet cassette. So toilet cassette's very, very simple. To take it out, we lift up on the little green tab here at the front and then pull the cassette towards us. Once you've got it past that little lip, it will then come all the way out. But basically you just pull it all the way out then, and you'll be able to take it off to wherever you need to go to drain it out. Twist this at the front and then remove this green cap in order to actually drain it out. When you're physically draining it out, you should be holding down the little green button there at the back. All right. Other than that, that's about it. So, on the actual back of the van, we've got the reversing camera at the top just there next to the Burstner centre brake light. And you can just about see your rear steadies there as well. The two grey vents that you can see here are both to do with the fridge. So if you ever needed access to the back of the fridge, then that's where you would go to for that. And then you've got your two bike rack here as well with all the sort of corresponding parts. So your gas locker, because it's German, they do tend to have a much bigger gas locker than the British stuff. So you've got space in here for two 13 kilo propane bottles. So just for reference, this is a normal 6 kilo propane, which would normally fill up nearly an entire British van's locker. But because the German ones are a lot bigger, you can fit two bigger bottles if you wanted to. So the majority of people, to be fair, would just have two of these like sort of 6 kilo propane ones. You've got 2024 on your pigtail hose, so you've got another until 29 to replace this basically. So yeah, huge gas locker. To turn the gas on, here if you can see that, we go anti-clockwise around to the left. I've already gone all the way, and then clockwise all the way down around to the right. We'll turn the gas bottle off. So anti-clockwise for on, clockwise for off. The regulator up here, you haven't got to do anything with that. You just leave that alone. That's basically just allowing a certain amount of pressure to come through to the inside of the van. It's regulating the amount of pressure that comes in, around 30 millibar. Really important to remember to turn the gas bottle off before you start driving. There is a sign in here telling you to do that as well, but I'm just sort of reiterating that. It is so important. If you're in a crash or something, the last thing you want is propane gas pumping inside. So yeah, really important to remember that. So yeah, it's a Time IT 586 Sovereign Edition. So it's a really nice vehicle. Nice decals on the side, all in very good condition. Full-sized Omni-Store wind-out awning across the top, and all of your leather interior as well. So it's genuinely a very nice vehicle. So there's absolutely tons of storage down here as well. All right. Not actually 100% sure what that's for. Sure, I can work it out. Oh, that'll be the motor for the bed. It's got an electric drop-down bed. And by the looks of it, there will be a manual override for that, hence why we've got that thing there. But yeah, hopefully you shouldn't have to use that. But your awning winder is this one just up here. Okay. But other than that, this locker here is just basically for storage, just lots of storage. So I'll jump into the cab and show you what we've got going on in here. So the actual cab itself is a very nice spec. So you've got literally just shy of 30,000 miles on here. So you've got 29,600 miles, which you know, for any vehicle is unbelievably low, but we kind of see that fairly often with the motorhomes, where they do have, you know, generally speaking, a fairly low mileage, but this one is particularly low. So on the door itself, we have got, just zoom in a little bit, electric windows, as you would come to expect nowadays. Your electric adjusting mirrors from that one there. You've got your headlight adjustments from these ones, and your front and rear fog lamps from these. This particular van has got a proper, I don't think it's Sigma, but let me just grab the key out. So, was it Cobra? Yeah, Cobra alarm on here. So the van will not start without pressing the unlock button on the Cobra alarm fob. So when I've pressed it there, you see that red light stop flashing, and if I arm it again by pressing lock, you'll see red light comes back on. Now it's going to stay on like that now because I've got the back door open. So if I had everything closed up and the bonnet closed and everything like that, then it would arm properly. But because I've got the back door open and a few things open, it won't arm and disarm properly. So just bear that in mind. But basically, long story short, you cannot start the engine without turning the Sigma alarm off. Okay, so sorry, not Sigma, Cobra. So you've got your lights and indicators on the left hand stalk. Washers and wipers are on the right hand side. You've also got on the left your cruise control stalk here as well, so you can turn it on and off from there, adjust the speed, and resume and pause from the button on the side. You've got a double DIN sized head unit up here. So one good thing that they do with a lot of these newer Burstners is they fit you this little switch down here which says radio navi. So when I press this, you'll notice that the stereo there will get power and springs to life. So I'm going to turn it off again now. So essentially what that switch there does is it allows you to use the stereo without draining out the engine battery. So from what I've been told over the years is that it actually uses the leisure battery's power to power the stereo. So you can use the stereo without draining out the engine battery is the idea behind that switch, because that will work without the ignition on, as you've just seen. Your reverse up to the top left hand side with the little pulley pulled towards you. You've got the air conditioning switch from here and all of your heated controls either side of that. You've also got the traction control plus and your downhill assist sort of thing, and hazard lights, and the rest of it's pretty self-explanatory really. Not much else for me to explain. The reversing camera comes up on that center screen, by the way, hence why you haven't got a separate screen up there for that. So let me just spin around and I'll show you through to the back of the van. So briefly, layout in this van, I personally think they're an absolutely amazing layout. I think they're so clever. We've got this huge lounge area in the middle which takes up the majority of the vehicle, but you don't have to convert it to make the bed. So you've got the electric switch just down here, which you will need the little key which is on the keys. So this little tiny key here goes into this and twist, and then you can pull the bed down, making sure that it doesn't touch the seats at the front. And then as long as you've moved out a couple of the cushions and things like that, you've then got this absolutely massive and very, very comfortable bed up the top. So I don't think you can really beat these layouts. I mean, of course, some people aren't so keen on having the electric drop-down bed, but I mean, for the amount of issues that we've had with them, which is very, very few, I think they're very, very good. I think it's a great use of space. So I'll lift that back up. Of course, don't forget that it will take longer to go back up. Unfortunately, that's gravity. So not much you can do about that, but it will go back up in its own time. So we just wait for it to go up all the way to the top. And there you go. So really nice and firm. All right, it's not going anywhere. And then all of your lights come back on when you get it up to a certain point as well. So towards the back here as well, another good part of it is the fact that you get so much storage space. So for a vehicle which is around 6 meters long, having a wardrobe that's that deep, and a bathroom as well, which is that big, is almost unheard of, really. Having a proper sort of almost separate shower room when you cover that up there. Loads of storage at the back there as well. Yeah, just loads and loads of space. So what I'll do is I'll start off with the control panel, which, by the way, is one of the most simple control panels I've ever seen. And then I'll go through the appliances with you as well. So the control panel is literally just, well, it's a few buttons. So you've got a main on and off switch, which is these two buttons here. So you've got 12 volt on and off. All right, so basically 12 volt means anything that uses the leisure battery to be powered. So that's your 12 volt lights, any ignitions, the water pump, all that sort of stuff needs to have the 12 volt switch turned on. And when it's on, you'll get a little orange light. Next to that, to the left, we've got your battery voltages. So basically, with the little symbol that you can see there, or the little diagram, sorry, when you press and hold on the front one, it's going to be showing us the engine battery voltage. When we press and hold on the back one, it's showing us the leisure. So if we're looking at the scale up here, watch the top scale. Engine battery is on 12.5 volts. Leisure battery is on 13. So very, very good voltage in both of them. We have got the hookup cable plugged in, hence why we've got this little light here on, which means that the charger is going to be on as well. So that's why the voltages are a little bit higher. But yeah. So that's your two voltages there, engine and leisure. And then we've got freshwater level. When we look at the bottom scale here, freshwater is the top one, so that's about 1/4 of a tank of fresh. And then the bottom one is your wastewater. So that's empty. Last switch on the control panel is this on and off switch here for the water pump. And that's the control panel. That is honestly all there is to it. The water pump, all right, you can leave that switch turned on. So it all depends on what sort of motorhome you've got, but basically some of the water pumps work on pressure, and it's like a good practice to turn the water pump switch off when you're done using it. In this case, you've got what's called a submersible pump, which means that the water pump physically sits inside the water tank. So basically, long story short, the water pump will not run unless you're drawing water from a tap. So basically each tap has what's called a micro switch inside of it, which physically tells the pump when to come on and off. So I don't know if you better hear it, but if you have a little listen, when I lift the tap up, you might hear a small clicking noise. I'm not sure if you better hear it on the video, but basically that little clicking sound that you can hear is the micro switch opening up and closing, telling the pump when to run. So in other words, you can leave that pump switch turned on all the time because it won't do anything until you actually want the water to come through anyway. So it's fine to leave that pump switch turned on all the time. So staying on that topic of water, because you've got a boiler in this van, it's really important to make sure that the boiler is definitely full before you start trying to get the water hot. So the only way to do that is, first of all, to make sure that you've got some water in the tank. So let's just have a look again. Fresh water, press on the top one, bottom scale, 1/4 of a tank. So we've got water in the fresh tank. I can then go around and double check that the boiler drain in that locker outside is in the position that it is now. And then we'll be able to basically, go ahead and start on the next step. So I've made sure that I've got water in the tank. I've made sure that the boiler drain is closed like it is now. And then all you need to do is draw the water through. So I'm going to go on the cold side first. So I've got good pressure there. It's coming through nice and clearly. It's not coughing and spluttering and going everywhere. So the freshwater side of the van is good and pressurized. I'll now turn it to the hot side. So you saw a tiny bit of air come out at the start. But now, again, good pressure, no coughing, no spluttering. So we're good. That's it. So that is honestly all you have to do to double check that the boiler is full up, is to just make sure that there's water coming through nice and clearly on the hot side of the tap. So what that proves to you is that the boiler's full up, because the boiler is sort of first in line for the water. So if the boiler wasn't full, it would fill itself up first before getting to the tap. So just seeing that the water's coming through nice and clearly on both sides means that you're good to go. Okay. And below that, we've got a really nice big deep drawer here, obviously cutlery drawer there, but you have got a couple of gas isolators here as well. Underneath that, we have got your oven and grill. So, if I take this out of the way, you'll see we've got a little ignition switch just down here and a valve at the top. So I push in and round to the right with the ignition switch to lighten up the grill, and the same but the other way for the oven. Okay, so it doesn't get much easier than that. It's just left and right, basically. So yeah, all I would say is make sure that you leave the grill, the door open when you're using the grill. Other than that, that's about it. Right, I will say that I've just realised one thing, is that you have got what I think is the underfloor heating. Now, I will have to doubly check on that, but I'm pretty sure it is, because where I knelt down just then, it was nice and warm, and I did have this switch here turned on. So I'm pretty certain that this particular model has got the underfloor heating. I will triple check that, but it feels warm on the floor there, so I'm pretty certain that it is. So, another absolutely massive storage locker down here. Okay, loads of storage in this one. And then we've got your 3-burner hob here on the top. So again, we've got an ignition switch, and it's just like a household cooker. Sometimes you will need to give it a little blow like that just to allow the gas to come through properly, but that's just motorhomes for you. They can just be a little bit temperamental sometimes. Generally speaking, it's normally because, you know, you got to remember that unlike a house, these things are on the road. They're doing sort of 60 mile an hour down a motorway a lot of the time, and you know, things move around, so it's yeah, one of those things. So only thing I would say with the 3-burner hob, which is probably self-explanatory, but I do like to say it, is that please make sure that you allow this all to cool down before you just put the lid down straight away. Now, it's different for me now because I've literally just had that on for a few seconds. It's not even hot to the touch. Okay, so that's different. To have it on for a few seconds, don't worry about it. But if you've been using it for 10 minutes or, you know, half an hour or however long, you need to make sure to allow it to cool down before you put the lid down. Any glass, doesn't matter what glass it is, if it gets cold underneath and hot on top, or the other way around, it's going to shatter. It's like their kryptonite, really. It will just break. All right. So the 3-way fridge, which is absolutely massive for a smaller van like this one. It's very unusual to see the proper 3-way, like the good sized 3-way fridges. So you've got the freezer compartment here, as you can see, lockable like that, and then the rest of it's just a normal fridge. So you've got, as well as that, you've got the automatic one as well. So this is the, you know, probably the highest spec one that you could go for. So this is what you would call a 3-way fridge. So it works 3 different ways. You've got mains electric, gas, and 12 volt. They're the 3 energies that this fridge can use to get cold. Only 2 of those 3 ways, so the mains and the gas, will actually get the fridge cold from hot. The 12 volt electric, this little battery symbol here, is only really for keeping the temperature inside the fridge whilst you're on the move. So the idea is get the fridge cold first, either on the gas or on the mains, and then switch over to 12 volt just for when you're driving. Now you do need to make sure that you allow it enough time to actually cool down. So if you're going to be using the mains or the gas, it's going to be about 2 or 3 hours till it gets cold. Alternatively, you have got the option here of the A, and it will just automatically choose one of those 3 options for you. So it should do it automatically, but I always just like to mention how to do it otherwise, you know, in case it doesn't work or whatever. So yeah, that's about it really. Temperature selector on the right, so you can physically adjust the temperature from there. And if you have a fault code come up, so I'll show you a fault code now. If I press on the 12 volt option here, it won't work because the engine isn't running. So it physically takes its power from the split charger. So when I choose this, fault code straight away, and that's just telling us that you don't have the option of 12 volt right now. So I can use gas or electric. So if I choose gas, just lights up straight away because I've got the gas on. And if I want to use the mains, it will also just switch over straight away. All right, so that's how you'd use the fridge. Turn it off, press and hold. Oh, and by the way, that when it started beeping just then, that's because the door has been open for a certain amount of time, probably 30 seconds or a minute, however long. But yeah, that beeping there is just, if it's beeping but not flashing red here, it means that the door's been open too long. So next thing is our Truma iNet Ready system. So this is our heating and hot water system here. So when I click on this little button here, it brings us up like a home screen. So I'm just going to turn the camera off a little bit in the hope that it sort of focuses. Almost like it's too bright for it. Right, let's just carry on. So we've got, let me just click on this. Okay, so we've got 4 options along the top. Okay, so we've got heating, hot water, energy selection, and fan speed. They are the 4 things that we're hovering over on the top. So the first one, I'll click on the heating. So let's go on that one. It's on off at the moment, and we've got the option 0 or 5, sorry, all the way up to 30. So when I press go, it brings us up a couple of other things, but we'll worry about those in a minute. Next one over is our hot water. Click on that one. We've got eco, hot, or boost. Click on that. And we can now see that we've got the heating and the hot water symbol up here above the black line. Next one over is our energy selector. So we've got gas, mix 1, mix 2, electric 1, and electric 2. They are all of the options for what energy this heater can use. Now, basically, if we have the gas and the electric on at the same time, we can use mix 1, which is gas and about 4 amps of electric. And if we want to use mix 2, it's gas and about 8 amps of electric. Same goes for the electric 1 and 2, although that's just obviously electric only. It's just 4 amps or 8 amps. For the time being, I'm going to use the heater on gas, and we'll let it do its thing. Next one over, the fan speed, we've got eco or high. They are the 2 options for that. Okay. And basically after a little while, we'll start getting the heating come through these little circular brown vents. And yeah, that is it. That's all there is to it. The rest of them, the rest of the little symbols that you can see, these ones at the bottom, you got timer. You can actually set the time here. And the last one, the little spanner symbol, just don't go into any of this because it's more so for us really, but you don't want to start messing around with all that because it will mess it all up. And that's it. The only other thing to note on this is that if I turn the hot water off and the heating, now that I've got nothing above the black line, it means that the boiler is completely off. It means that nothing's working at all and the heating is off. If I go back over to this little fan symbol now and click on it, you'll see that when I scroll over, it will say vent. Click vent and then select a number. So now we've got, instead of a fan symbol, we've got a little vent symbol up here. And basically what that'll do is it will just pump around cool air out through these little vents rather than heating. So essentially, if it's a really hot day and you want just some cool air pumping around the van, you can do so just by choosing the vent option when everything's off. For the time being though, I want this to be off. Press off, And as long as there's nothing above the black line, the boiler's off. So that's the heating and hot water, very straightforward. I'm going to say again, underfloor heating, okay? Now, I can only imagine, I don't know this for a fact, but I can only imagine that it's probably only in the main areas. Okay, so I don't think it's going to be on every single last little bit of floor, but it'll be on the main areas. But as I say, I will triple check that, but I can physically feel it under my feet, so I'm pretty certain on that one. Below that, we've got your, I believe that is, what do we say on the side of that? That is, could actually be an external aerial point. Again, I didn't do the hab check on this particular van, so I'm going to have to check on a couple of things. The main bits I can sort out. Right, in this locker here, towards the back, we have got your, sorry about the funny camera. Yeah, the back there, the blue unit that you can see there, the Victron Energy one, that is your twin solar panel. So your duo controller there for your solar panel. So when I say duo panel, I mean that it's charging both engine and leisure batteries at the same time. So anytime that there's sunlight on the roof, the duo controller is charging both batteries. Your TV aerial points at the top just there, the Vision Plus stuff, you can just literally turn that on with a little switch on the top, and that'll then give you a decent signal going through to your tellies. But yeah, that's about it really for that locker. There's loads of paperwork in these, and carpets just there as well. So the last thing that I need to show you is going to be the bathroom. Sorry about the camera now, it's gone a bit fuzzy because I had to focus in on something else a minute ago. But essentially the bathrooms I don't tend to actually explain much about, because it's just, you know, hot and cold tap for the shower, hot and cold tap for the sink. The sink does swivel out, okay, so you can have that in a more accessible place. Light switch for the bathroom is over here in the corner. The only part that I tend to actually explain is the toilet, because you may or may not have actually used one of these ones before. Essentially, you've got a blue button on the side. When I press on that, flush fluid, which is basically just fresh water, pumps around the bowl. When you've gone to the toilet, you can pull the handle here towards you, which drains everything from in the bowl into the cassette. And once you've done that, pull it back, and that's it. You're ready to use it again. Yeah, doesn't get much easier than that. Storage in the back just here, not loads because it's obviously not a very long van, but storage nonetheless. And yeah, so I think, to be honest, I think I have covered everything that I can cover. If there's anything else that you want going over again, just give us a shout. Or if you think I've missed anything out, you know, again, give us a shout and we'll sort anything out for you. But yeah, otherwise we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.